Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Today I'm actually going to talk you through stage 3 of the Makuri May event I did on Monday the 19th of May. I actually did start live streaming this one, but after some Wi-Fi issues whilst waiting in the pen, I lost my link to the YouTube live stream. So I kept the recording running and I thought, hey, we can probably watch this back and I can talk you through some of what I was thinking as the race was unfolding. And this also means we can watch the race back at 2 times speed or faster in places, and you can see more of the action and highlights and less of the moments where I'm just surfing in the wheels for periods. So the third stage of the Makuri Maze series sees us racing around the castle to castle route. It's a fairly flat course with only 141 meters of climbing over the 23.2 kilometers. With that elevation, it's mostly coming in the first third of the race as we go up a fairly draftable climb that averages about 2.8%. And with the Makuri Maze series, Zwift are choosing the power ups on offer for each course. And for this one, we've got draft and aero power ups, and that's fine with me. These are some of my favourite power ups anyway. On a hillier course, perhaps a feather would have been helpful, but as I say, we're not spending a lot of time going upward with this one. So, let's get underway. So we've gone through the lead-in. We're now just over a kilometre and a half into the race. You can see there's a small pack of about 14 riders in this lead group. My objective was very much to be the most efficient rider and to try and keep that draft meter at the top of the screen that I'm using as part of the Source for Zwift plugin as high as possible. I've seen plenty of races where riders have really spent a lot of time in the wheels and then just, gone large at the end, and that was very much my ambition here. I actually tried something a little bit different with this race as well with regards to my gearing and hardware setup. You might spot it on the lower left hand side with my leg spinning away there. I'm actually in the little ring on my Shimano Ultegra group set. I've got the Zwift Click or Zwift Hub at the back of the bike there, so all the shifting is done virtually. My thinking was I actually sort of accidentally knocked the chain into the lower gear and found that it was running much more quietly. I thought, hey, I like that. So I went into the virtual shifting and I went from the sequential 1x24 into the mixed terrain gearing. And you'll see a little bit later on during this stream that actually I decided that wasn't the way to go. So what we're seeing here already is this guy Ice, the Japanese racer, is already off the front. This is something he does several times throughout this race. Super annoying. I've actually been in races before where other riders have said, hey, let's flag this guy. That isn't on. So it's very much a tactic that is frowned upon. What are your thoughts? Is it okay to sprint and surge and go like that, or is it very much a no-no? So for the most part, especially before we start going uphill, I'm trying to do what I can to keep the power somewhat level. A couple of surges there as I sort of tried to get back onto Ice's wheel as he sped off. I think I did that once or twice, but then I sort of quickly caught on that he's that kind of rider. He's quite surgy. So as you approach the first hill here, my very first, or my only thought rather, is to pretty much stay with the group, ride within myself, and to get a draft if there is one. Again, at this point, I'm really still not sure what Ice is doing, whether he's going to try and go for a breakaway, whether he's testing the legs of the riders around him. So I think, okay, well, I'll try and stick with him for a little while. As other riders come to the fore, including Nakamura and Taylor and Snickers, I think, right, we'll stick with these guys and we could maybe drop one or two riders and get a small breakaway group going. It's not quite what happens. A few riders are eventually dropped on this little steeper step here, as you'll see in a moment. And we end up being, I think, a front 11 out of 14 riders. But everyone starts to pull out in front. My tactic here is very much just to remain efficient. As you can see now in the bottom left hand corner, I have gone back into the big ring on the Ultegra group set and I'm spinning away. So I'm in the 11th gear at the moment and I'm just trying to stay in the draft of these guys here. You can see that when you've got a handful of riders in front of you and you're going up about 3.5, 4% like this, you're getting anywhere between 60 and 90 watts of drafts saved. So rather than trying to pull on the front or trying to drop too deep, I'm very much intentionally trying to just stay behind and get any savings I possibly can. So we're 5k into the race now, so we'll skip forward a little bit. Okay, so I cut out a couple of 100 meters there. You'll see me now coming to the top of the climb. The front group does look to be getting away, so I quickly have to put in a bit more of a dig than I really would have liked to stay on with that pack. I've used the power up and now I'm back in the wheels. The rest of the guys are also using their power-ups before we collect another in just a few hundred meters time. Okay, so we'll skip forward about 3 kilometers, and what happens now is Ice decides to go again. And this time I think better of it. I think, hey, I cannot be the one to continue to burn matches. Someone else has to take up the chase. And that's what happens. I do put in a bit of an effort and I think, hang on, I'm feeling pretty good here. Do I keep going? Do I press on? I push on a little bit, I stay in front, and I quickly think better of it, remembering my tactic of wanting to be the most efficient rider, not necessarily the most powerful rider. So by now we are about onto the flattest section of the race, and you might think, well, here's where the race is going to get boring. Surely we're just going to all roll along in one big peloton and pretty much sprint it out to the finish line. Well, you could be mistaken. So we've skipped forward another kilometre or so, and Ice is up to his old tricks, once again hitting out with big power numbers, trying to break away from the group. And with the course being so flat at this point, if he does get a gap and then manages to hold 4.5 or so watts per kilo, he could get away. So once again, I allow somebody else, in this case P. Roberts, to take up the chase. And P. Roberts does that and continues to put the power down for just a little bit longer than I think is right. And so it looks like he and I are going to get away. But then again, he quickly knocks off that power, drops down to 2.5 watts per kilo, and the whole group gets back on. A little bit annoying, a little bit surgy, but it does force some of the riders in the pack to use their power up, I would say, prematurely. And I'm still sitting here with my aero power up, sorry, my draft power up at my disposal, which gives me something of an advantage. So again, we'll cut out another kilometre there. As we go from the dirt roads out in the Makuri hills into this tunnel, we now come back into the city of Neokyo. And this is where the ride, it stays flat for a little while longer, but this is where the ride does get a little bit tactical, because of course with the bends and the turns, you start to lose some of the draft. But also, I don't know if it's a change in terrain or what, but some riders start to get a little bit sort of antsy and a little bit sort of nervous almost, and attacks start to go, as you'll see in just a second. So as the group are cruising along at 2.5 to 3 watts per kilo, B. Taylor here starts to put in a little bit of a dig. Nothing too aggressive, nothing crazy, but she starts to turn the screw a little bit and hold north of 4 watts per kilo. And I notice before long that we've got 5-6 meter gaps to the guys behind us. So I push on with him and I try and encourage him to do the same. So I also then try and put in a bit of a dig. Ice is once again up to his old tricks, but this time I think we're all wise to it, or at least most of us are, and so no one really is putting in a crazy dig. I've still got my draft power up in the pocket, so I'm going to hold on to that until the point where I think, hey, I really need to use this now. This time Nakamura has taken up the chase on Ice, and we've all managed to stay in the draft somewhat and bridge back over as well. So nothing much happens over the next kilometre or so, but when we skip forward to about 16.7 kilometres, some attacks look like they're about to go off. I think with there being about 6 or so kilometres remaining and very few little bumps left to speak of in this course, I think some riders are once again getting a bit nervous, trying to look for every single little bit of elevation as a chance to attack. That drafting boost power up that I had, well, now's the time to use it, as it looks like a small group of 2 or 3, maybe even 4 might go away. And with 5.5k at this point remaining, I want to be a part of that. Using Source for Zwift to full effect here and making sure that I stay in the draft. There's no need to overshoot those at the front of the pack and push my own wind, so to speak. So here we go. Coming up on the next little sort of section here, where we are all going to get new power-ups. So this is going to have a big say on how the next part of the race unfolds. I'm feeling pretty good here with about 5k left to go, and I hit out a little bit thinking, okay, let's give it a push, see if anyone is willing to come with me. The gap between myself and Brinkman behind starts to grow a little bit, and I think, oh, hang on, have I got the legs to maybe go solo? But no, I haven't. The pack comes back. It's clear that we're all quite closely matched. But once again, I've got the aero power up. I'm going to hold on to that for a moment. I'm going to use it right before the next banner. At least that's the tactic. And experience tells me that something always goes off during the little garden section of this course. And lo and behold, you know who makes an attack? You guessed it. Ice is back on his bike and off he goes, putting an attack again. Now with only 4 kilometers left remaining, it's not quite as simple as just letting him go. It could be that he's putting in these sort of soft, fake attacks throughout the course to lull us all into a false sense of security. So we start to put in a dig, and here you can see Mr. Bada is finally questioning what Ice is up to with these horrible little sort of explosive sprints that really ultimately amount to nothing. So I think that's also helped to inadvertently perhaps neutralize the group rather than anything happening here. Ice has effectively made everyone else catch back on. And so with 3K left to go, people start using their power ups. A little break is probably going to want to go at this point. You can see Taylor's looking to try and put his head down and get going. But the combined power of the rest of us with our power ups in play is enough to keep him in check and keep him within range. So we're now approaching 2.5 kilometers left. So not much happens over the last kilometre, so I've cut that out, but we'll skip forward to 1.6k, which is the same as 1 mile. This is the point in most races where a lot of riders will tend to really try and go long. It's either 1.6 or 1k or anywhere between 7 and 500. Then last opportunity, last chance saloon for most riders is sort of 500, 300 meters, 200 meters. You can see now people using their power ups in a bid to try and get away and raise those podium places. I'm going to use the drafting boost. I'm going to try and put my head down, keep the numbers high, and see if I can at least try and get myself a podium finish. So we're going to keep pushing on. We're now at 600 meters left to go, and this is the point where the sprint has got to begin. So here's what I do. I haven't got much of a sprint to speak of at the moment, but I think, hang on, let's just give it all you've got. I can probably go hard for 300 meters. Let's do it. So I get the head down, out of the saddle, and I'm sprinting. Now, to my surprise, I look up, I can see some riders sort of slowing. I think, hang on, I can probably take a few more. And that is exactly what happens. I take a couple of extra people and finish seventh in the race. And so we have a seventh place finish, but more importantly than the finishing position itself for me at the moment is what's happening with those power numbers. A 20-minute power of 3.7 watts per kilo and a 5-minute power of 4.4 watts per kilo. Nothing to write a song and dance about. However, for me at the moment, it's definitely a step in a positive direction. So happy with that. I hope you enjoyed that one, folks. If you don't already, please do like and subscribe. And as always, peace and good vibes to you all. See you on the next one.